How was last lesson? Was it good? Was it okay? Too fast, too slow? Perfect? You sure? Everyone? Don't worry about the terms. I just wanted to get that out of the way, what we did last week, especially when I mentioned the Adilla Arba'a, Kitab, Sunnah, Ijma and Qiyas. These are terms which will constantly come across. In FIqh, you're constantly going to hear about them. You're going to hear the Quran, you're going to hear the Hadith, you're going to hear regarding a consensus on this of the Ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, and you will constantly hear regarding that this is a masla from Qiyas. Okay. In Aqidah we did a few terms as well, didn't we? Yes. But don't worry, inshallah ta'ala, the starting of everything is always difficult. Yes. But as you get into it, it slowly gets easier and easier and easier. It's just something that we also do in Dars Nizami, where we tend to make the first lessons the hardest. It's a filter really, where it shows those who are serious in regards to the deen, they stay, and those who are not, then they leave. It's like a filter within the Dars Nizami course, where the the teachers tend to make things hard within the first few lessons, but then after that it gets easier and easier and easier. Hence why we try to always do all the terminologies, the terms that we have, that we use within the first few lessons that we have. In Aqidah last week we did regarding the Mabadi Ashara, the 10 fundamentals, the 10 principles that we had. We went into them. In and amongst that, I gave you 3 terms that we're going to use, and I said that it more or less shows you the context of the Aqidah lessons in terms of how it's structured. First we had what we call wujub, okay, or we had wajib. I just want to get this out of the way because these are things that we're going to come across all the time, and it's good to know what they are. I will try my best to say wajib, necessary, yes. If I don't, then if you don't understand it, then you can. It's a class, it's not a lecture. Okay, this is a class. You can raise your hands, ask, and inshallah ta'ala we'll take it from there then. So don't feel that it's a lecture, I shouldn't speak or I shouldn't ask. It's a classroom, alhamdulillah. It's not a lecture. I'm not here only to speak. Yes, I'm also here to hear from you as well, see what you've learned as well. So treat it like a classroom. Yeah. I know it might feel like that there's a massive class, there's lots of people here, and you might feel that you can't interact. Okay, you can't interact. Raise your hands if you don't understand something. If I'm going too fast, say I'm going too fast. Can we re-explain that? We'll go over it again. If it takes 1 time, 2nd time, 3rd time, 4th time, yes. 4th I think will be about enough. Yes, we don't want the rest of the people to get tired of us as well. So understand that it's a class, and always in the starting of a class, the teacher tends to feel uncomfortable, the students feel uncomfortable. Yes, it might be that you want to run out of the class, the teacher's probably in the same position as well. Yes, and gradually the relationship between student and teacher, it grows. The student becomes comfortable with his teacher, and the teacher then becomes comfortable with his students, and like that you get fond of each other, and then this journey carries on as it's supposed to. Imam Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala would fear big classrooms like this one. Yes, to a point that when a group of students, and there's only 10 students, they came to him in a group of 10, he ran away from them. Yeah, he ran away from them. Sole purpose was so that he doesn't get big-headed and say that I'm a big scholar now. So he would actually tell his students to come one by one to him, and that's the way they would come to him. So big classes do tend to put teachers off as well. It makes us nervous. Yeah, so many faces to look at. One might be a mufti in between. So it sometimes catches you. In Aqidah, like I said last week, we got three terms which we're going to use, and we're going to use them a lot. The first one was wujub, and these are called al-hukmul aqli. Hukmul aqli. If you can't see the board, has everybody got the link, Siri Naveed? Yes? If you can't see the board, then you can log onto the classroom on your phones, and then hopefully the camera will come onto the board. I think there's a 20-second delay or something. Yeah, roughly about that much. So if you can't see the board from that far end or that far end, you can get onto your phone, just put the volume down, and you can see it on your phones as well. This is called al-hukmul aqli. Al-hukmul aqli. Let's get this out of the way because this is kind of difficult sometimes. Okay, al-hukmul aqli. The rational commands, if you like, the rational commands. The first one is wujub. The first one is wujub. We did this last week. Wujub is something that is necessary. I'm going to go through a proper translation of it. But for now, it's what? Necessary. That's how we'll translate it. I'll say such and such is necessary. Okay. Number one is wujub. Number two was what I call muhal. Okay? Muhal. Wujub, sometimes we call it wajib, okay? I'll just call this muhal. Muhal. Muhal will translate as impossible. Muhal is impossible. We did this last week. Just a recap. And the last one, anybody know it? Mumkin, jawaz. Yes. And we also call it mumkin. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go through them again, hopefully.
What was the definition of hukm?
We're going to go through it again, inshallah. The last one is jawaz and mumkin. Jawaz and mumkin. So al-hukmul aqli, rational commands, yes, where you have rational judgments, can translate as rational judgments as well. Something that you can understand with your own mind. You use your own intellect and come to a rational judgment that this thing is necessary, this is impossible, such and such thing is permissible, okay, such and such is possible, like that. So al-hukmul aqli is just a title for them. So in terms of rational judgments, you have three rational judgments. The first one is wujub, and we'll call this wajib. We'll call this wajib. What's the definition of it? Wajib is that which does not accept negation. Wajib is that which does not accept negation. So you can't negate it. What's the opposite of that?
You can't negate it.
What's the opposite of negation?
Accept. No.
You can't negate it. Yes? That's the opposite. As in, it has to exist then, doesn't it? If you can't say no to it. You cannot say no to it. So wajib is that whose existence is necessary. Yes? Its existence is necessary. We know this as necessary. Then you have muhal, we translate as impossible. Impossible. So did I say for the first one that it does not accept negation? Yes. Second, the muhal was that which does not accept wujud, does not accept existence. That makes it impossible then, doesn't it? We sometimes define things by the opposites. Yes? Because generally, if you want to know what a specific thing is, to know a definition of a specific thing, then just look at its opposite. A man is that who's not a woman. So you'll know. Yes? So sometimes we define things by their opposites. Al-ashya'u tu'rafu bi-azdadiha. Things are recognized by their opposites. So hence these definitions, they're just defining the opposite, aren't they? So when we said for wajib, necessary, it is that which does not accept negation. Yes? That's its opposite. Negation is its opposite. Yes, that's muhal, isn't it? The impossible is negated. The impossible doesn't exist. So we defined it by its opposite. So muhal is that which does not accept existence. Meaning it's necessary to negate it. Hence why we call it impossible. It can't exist. Then you have jawaz. The third one is jawaz. Mumkin, we sometimes call it jaiz as well. We'll translate this as possible. Translate this as possible. And possible in this context is that intrinsically, as in the thing that you're calling possible, it truly can't be negated completely, and nor can its existence be negated completely. Yes? So its wujud, its existence, and its non-existence is equal. That's possible. That is possible. So they're easy, aren't they? First you got wajib, necessary, something which you can never negate. You can't say that it doesn't exist. If it's wajib, it has to exist. Muhal, impossible, is something whose wujud, existence, yes, it doesn't accept existence. Yes, so it becomes necessary for you to negate it. So it can never come into existence. Then you've got jaiz, they're equal, meaning its existence and its non-existence is equal, like this azan.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح.
this azan was possible, its existence and non-existence is completely equal. Okay? Just like yourselves. I.e., for you to come into existence and remain in non-existence is completely equal. It wasn't necessary upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring you into existence. It wasn't impossible for Him to take you out, for you to remain in non-existence. Yes? I mean, you wouldn't be here then, would you? You're a sign of that yourselves, that it was possible for you to come out of non-existence into existence. Yeah? So which it proves what? That we are possible. In our essence, as humans, we are possible. Okay? Example of muhal, something that's impossible, is for there not to be a Lord. Yes? Meaning, as Muslims, we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. So for Him to exist, for us to exist, He had to exist. Yes? So it shows that to negate God, this is impossible. To say that there is no creator is impossible. Or for example, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove His knowledge. The hard examples, but we'll just give them. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove His knowledge is impossible. Okay. Something that's wajib is the existence of God. Existence of God. Like I just said, that if He did not exist, then we cannot exist. In terms of ourselves as Muslims, we talk about that because we look at ourselves, we exist because God exists. And if He did not exist, then our belief that He created us, that wouldn't be right, would it? Yes. We believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, but if He doesn't exist, then how can we carry that belief? So then we have to believe that His existence is necessary. So these are three al-hukmul aqli, rational judgments, rational commands, which we base everything in regards to. We'll say it's wajib to believe this, such and such thing is impossible, such and such thing is possible, regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regarding the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so on and so forth. So these are things that you need to acquaint yourselves with. Okay? Truth is, we can open these up so much in a logical sense that it'll just baffle you. We're not going to go down that route. Okay? You can save that for a proper dars in Nizami course. Yes? Where you can go into these rational judgments. We teach mantiq in the dars in Nizami course. We start off with Persian, so we do Sugra, we do Awsat, we do Kubra. Then we have Isa Goji. It was actually written in Greek first, then it was translated. We do the Sharawi, Qala Aqul. Qala Aqul just translate, he said, I said. Yeah, so that's what he does with it. He says, this is what the author said, this is what I say. And he goes like that, completes the whole book. Then you have books like Mirqat. Yes, Mirqat, I think I mentioned in the introduction by Fazli Haq Khairabadi, one of the main books that we do. And then you have Sharat Ta'zib and so on and so forth, all the way down to Alhamdulillah. In the Dars Nizami course, Mantiq is a very lengthy science. Yes? So you can start from right in the early years and you can carry on. You probably done Dora Hadith and Dora Tafsir and you still haven't finished Mantiq. Okay? That's how books they tend to teach within Mantiq. So it's a lengthy science. The truth is, the reason we teach it is because when we come to Ilm Kalam, in Ilm Kalam, it bases itself a lot on logic and a lot of Greek philosophy and Greek logic. Yes? So that's why we tend to, in the Dars Nizami, study these things as well. There will be certain points within this which we're going to start, which will touch on those aspects, but inshallah ta'ala I'm going to break them down, yes, so that it's easy to understand. So I'm not just going to mention the Aqidah and that's it, let's move on. We'll try to break it up. If there are any terms within there which you might not understand, we'll break it up inshallah ta'ala and put it into layman's terms so that you can understand inshallah ta'ala. Okay. Just before namaz, we'll go into our first Aqidah. So the first thing I said to you, we're going to be talking in regards to the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. So before this, you've had the introduction to Aqidah, Ilm Kalam. You did the 10 principles. We also did something called the conditions of taklif. Yes, we did that in the FIqh lesson. If you remember, if you go back to your notes, we did the conditions of taklif. Remember, for namaz to be fard upon somebody, okay, then we said that he needs to be mature, he needs to have an intellect, for Dawat Islami to reach him, and so on and so forth. We mentioned that. Same thing for Aqidah as well. Those things apply for Aqidah as well. So with that in mind, covering all of that, now we go into our first section, and that's in regards to the Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we're going to be talking about the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're going to be talking about the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are going to talk about the actions. Yes, these are three words which you need to get yourselves acquainted with. Okay. The first one is Zat. Second one is Sifat. And last one is Af'al. Zat is the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sifat are the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Af'al, they're all plural except for the first one. Af'al are the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we're going to be talking in regards to these. There won't be a real structure, it might just go from one to the other. Okay? But it'll be more or less in and around that.
What did you say the last one?
Af'al, actions. Okay? The actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Regarding what Aqidah do we have in regards to His essence. Yes? Then we have what Aqidah do we have in regards to His sifat, His attributes. And then also in regards to His actions. Okay? Sifat is the plural of sifat, yes, which is attribute. Sifat will be attributes, plural. Af'al is the plural of fi'l, yes, which means action. Some say it's fa'al. Some say it's fa'al. We have a nice little debate on this as well, as in what's the actual root of af'al, is a fi'l or fa'al. Yes? So sometimes when we sometimes when we read Aqidah, we don't say the fi'l of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we say the fa'al of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes? In Aqidah, it's a slight difference. But anyway, regardless, is a plural of fi'l or fa'al, it means action. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has actions as well, as in He created you. That's one action. That's the action of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What do we believe regarding that action of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how are those actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Okay? We're going to take a break for namaz, inshallah ta'ala. So let's carry on. We was talking regarding the Zat, the Sifat, and the Af'al of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are three things that we're going to talk about. I'm not necessarily going to go in that order, so there might be a mixture of things. But what we're trying to say is it's regarding those three. Yes. So look at the first thing is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. That's the first aqidah. That's Masla 1, Aqidah 1. Yes, point 1, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is 1. Okay. Like I said to you, I'm going to be following Bahari Shariat, and I'm going to be following it straight through. So if you're wondering that what you need to read upon, just follow Bahari Shariat. Yes, so those brothers that was asking regarding what should we read upon, Bahari Shariat, just read straight through it. We're going to be following it. In regards to your fiqh, we're following Nurul Idah, and we're going to be reading straight through it. If there are certain chapters which I feel that are not relevant to you, at the end of every class I'll tell you that this next chapter we're not going to be doing it, so for next week don't prepare this one, go move on to the next one. Okay? If there is something like that, if I feel is not relevant to you, we can move on from it. Okay? But just for your normal routine, just follow straight through the books as well. So Aqidah number 1 is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. He is one. We say He is Wahid. He is Wahid. How is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala one? That's the first question. Who's going to prove it?
Him. If there can only be one God, because if there was another God, then there can't be a coexistence, only one has to exist, because if there's another one, it had to come from the first one, and God wouldn't need to create another God.
Does the first one the second one have to come from the first one?
It had to come from somewhere.
But then you'll say that God had to come from somewhere as well. That's a never-ending argument.
So that in itself means that God doesn't exist in time, He just is.
But then you're saying He doesn't exist. He just is.
He exists, but not in a manner that we accept as.
We have to understand it logically, don't we? So we're saying that God is one. God is one. So let's prove He's one. An atheist comes along to you and says, you say God is one, so prove it. We've sent satellites and spaceships as far as we come, we never found God. So how do we do it? What do we say to him? How do we prove that God is one? There's many dalail, and that's what we're going to speak about, hopefully, and prove that God is one, and it'll come later on as well, inshallah ta'ala, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. One of the things that we can look at is that how God is one is that we call it burhan tamanu. Okay, so it might be hard a bit this, but I'm just going to explain it without any terminology. Imagine there's two gods. Imagine there is two gods. Then we have Zaid in between. Zaid is the creation. Now, God A wants Zaid to run. God B wants Zaid to sit down. What will happen to Zaid? Zaid confused. If Zaid becomes confused of not knowing what to do, then they're both not God. Yes? They're both not God. Then we have to look for another entity which is God. But here what we need to look at is what's the action of Zaid. Zaid has to do something. Because our perception of God is that He is all powerful. He is all powerful. He has to have strength, shouldn't He? He cannot be weak. Do we believe in a weak God? No. So He has to be this greater being that has utmost strength. Yes, He's all powerful. That's our concept of God. That's the concept of God. Even if you ask an atheist, you can say to an atheist, "I know you don't believe in God, but if you were to believe in a God, what would that God be like?" And one of the things he'll mention is that logically you'll have to understand that God is all powerful. One of the things. Now if God A wins, that means Zaid started running. Has God B lost? Yes? God B is lost. So God B is not God because he is now weak. He lost the battle. He lost this tug of war. Zaid started running and he could not use his strength to stop God A and also make Zaid do what he willed. And if we say God B won, then God A is no longer God. Is he? So then we prove here that for two gods to exist, if they are both, if one of them wins, then it shows that the other one cannot be God. So we prove oneness of God in that way. Another one is that if we imagine them both to be all powerful, if we imagine both of them to be all powerful, Zaid would cease to exist. Imagine the power of both gods trying to pull Zaid in two different directions. What will happen to Zaid? He'll be destroyed. You got a rubber band, one's pulling it that way and the other one's pulling it that way. It will snap in between, wouldn't it? It'll break, it'll be destroyed. That's what will happen to the creation. That's what would happen to the creation. But we know for a fact that we are here. We are here. So we understand one thing as well, that there is one God as well. There is one God. Just a simple argument which I want to present to you. It is mind-boggling. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts it in an easy way. لَوْ كَانَ فِيهِمَا آلِهَةٌ إِلَّا اللَّهَ لَفَسَدَتَا. If there were many gods in the heavens and the earth, meaning ruling over the heavens and the earth, then la fasadata, the heavens and the earth would cease to exist. Okay?
What if one was what if the gods don't have a dispute or contradiction to it?
If they had a disagreement,
If they didn't have anything,
if they agreed,
yeah.
if they agreed not to dwell in each other's strength, yes, this is what we call ittifaq. Yes, so that they have this coincidence between them, this agreement between them. This is actually one of the questions which Allama Taftazani in Sharh Aqaid asks as well. And he asks, what if they agreed? What if they agreed? This shows that this verse of the Quran in its logical sense, other than that, the whole of the Quran is definitive, isn't it? You can't deny it. Yes? But in terms of the logic, sometimes that's applied. Yes? Sometimes a logic is applied for the layman. Sometimes the logic is applied for the layman, and it's just a simple argument, maybe emotional based argument, and so on and so forth, which wins the hearts of the person. And sometimes they are intellectual ones. This one, they say that in terms of its logic, is not on that level that it can't be broken. As in, you can still ask questions regarding, and one of those questions is, what if they both agreed that they will not come into each other's things? But then what happens with that is, if they come into that agreement, is that the will of one of the gods has been taken over then. As in, God does whatever He likes. God does whatever He likes. فَعَالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ, that He does whatever He likes. Now when He does whatever He likes and however He likes, He is restricted now. That God A will say that I am only for the people of the UK. Yes? If I go to the people of Pakistan, that is not my jurisdiction. So He's restricted now, isn't He? But we understand God is not restricted, is He? God is not restricted in anything. So hence why we still prove that there is one God. Okay. That's a question which has baffled many ulama. What if they agreed? On that ayat, this question arises, what if they both agreed? Yes? And truth is, to our time, not a lot of many ulama had the answer for it. Yes? When we can give an answer like that, then some ulama will say that this ayat that we mentioned, لَوْ كَانَ فِيهِمَا, that if in the heavens and the earth there were many gods, then the earth would cease to exist. It would be destroyed. Some said because we can answer everything regarding this ayat logically, like that question, if they both agreed not to meddle in each other's work. Okay. Once we can answer that, we can now say in terms of the logical sense, meaning the logical sense of this ayat is now also definitive. It can't be broken. Okay. It's a nice little argument in Ilm Kalam. But anyway, we're not going to go in that detail every single day, okay? So don't worry. We're not going to go into that much depth for every single Aqidah. And just to give you that taste of Dars Nizami as well. Look, another question on this is that we said God is one. God is one. How is God one? You prove that He's one, but in what sense is He one? What's that? Hisab, did you say? Yeah, in terms of His Zat, yes. But in terms of His Zat, how is He one? I'm asking the question, how? What definition are you giving to one?
In terms of numerical terms, there's none other like Him.
There's none other like Him. You hit the nail on the head. His uniqueness, isn't it? Yes? That He's unique, one and only. When we say one in this sense, in the meaning of unique, because if we say one, then in the sciences that we study, one is half of two. Yeah, when you come to numbers, what is one? One is half of two. So to imagine one, you have to imagine two. So you have to imagine two gods first and say He's one of those two gods. So we understand that in terms of a number, God is not one by a number. Okay? God is not one by a number. Another, there's many things we can go into. Okay? Wahdat jinsi, wahdat nawi. Okay? It's a long subject. Just hit the nail on the head is wahdat haqiqi. Yes, wahdate hakiki. True oneness or true uniqueness. And we just translate as uniqueness. That God is completely unique in terms of His Zat, in terms of His Sifat, and in terms of His Af'al. And He's one in all of them, not just the Zat as well. So He is one in terms of His Zat, He's also one in terms of His Sifat, and He's one in terms of His Af'al. Anything regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to be one. And by one here we mean uniqueness. Surah Anbiya, do you have the verse with you? Do you want to read it? Yes, sorry, yeah. That's the same ayat which I decided, sorry. It proves that, doesn't it? Yes, that's what that's proving. That verse is proving exactly that. Okay? We just moved slightly ahead of that, and that is that in terms of His essence, in terms of His attributes, and in terms of His actions, whichever way you look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regarding Him, wa Aqidah regarding Him, you have to understand in every aspect there has to be a oneness.
Is that why in Surah Ikhlas it says Qul huwallahu ahad
Yes.
and not wahid?
It doesn't say.
Or is that because
Wahid can be different and ahad is slightly different. Yes? But ahad is uniqueness here as well. We use the same word wahid for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. But again we translate as uniqueness. So they're just two words, two different words that carry the same meaning. But look here in that same ayat, Qul huwallahu ahad, He didn't say that Rahman is one. He uses actual personal name, that Allah. Now here the name Allah includes His Zat, includes His Sifat, and includes His Af'al. So when He's saying Allah is one, He's saying all those three are one. Yes, those three are one. Meaning in regards to His essence, He's one in His essence. In regards to His attributes, there's nobody like Him that carries His attributes. In regards to His actions, just take Him creating this world from nothing. Can anybody else do that? No. Yes. So laysa kamithlihi shay'un. Nothing is like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. So He's one in terms of uniqueness.
Is there a term for all three of those together?
No. Okay. They're just separate parts. Look at another point is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no partners. And we've proven that, haven't we? Yes. But just nice to have it down in a sentence. That He has no partners. He has no partners in His essence, neither in His attributes, and neither in His af'al. Okay? And the author here adds ahkam, asma. Okay? But the truth is they link back to these three. Yes? It's just an explanation of the three. Meaning His ahkam come under His af'al and His sifat as well. Yes? And His names come under His sifat. His asma come under His sifat. Or one name comes under His zat. This what I just told you, that He has no partners, neither in His zat, in His sifat, or His af'al. Zat in His essence. Yes? You understand the answers, don't you? Yeah? His sifat, attributes, and also His af'al, His actions. This is also the definition of shirk if you just take the no out. Take the negation out, then that's the definition of shirk as well. So shirk is what? To make a partner for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, either in His essence, in His attributes, or in His actions. Yes? There's no other definition of shirk. Okay? There is no other definition of shirk. In terms of that is the definition, and you can just round it off in the sense that mustahiq lil ibadah, just an extra condition in terms of shirk, that you believe that other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala somebody is worthy of worship. Worthy of worship. But that really comes under under sifat. Yes? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also ma'bood, isn't He? He's worshipped. Okay? So it comes under that as well. So like that you can actually just round it off. To shirk is that to believe that somebody is worthy of worship other than Allah, or shirk is to have or associate a partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His essence, in His attributes, or in His actions. This is the only definition of shirk. Okay? So when you do a khatam, can't be exactly shirk, can it? When you're doing dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because you haven't said the khatam is like God in His essence. In His essence, you haven't said khatam is like God in terms of His attribute. You're doing dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You haven't said that khatam somehow has actions. Yes? It doesn't, does it? Yes? So you can't say like khatam is shirk, because there's no, you don't believe that, and the point is that you're actually still worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through it. Okay? Just an example. Take this note of this word, wajibul wujud. Allah is wajibul wujud. I'm going to leave that on the board. I don't know if you can see this. Wajibul wujud. If you want me to put the Zabardez on, just say so, because I have a habit of not writing them. Wajibul wujud. It literally translates necessary existence. Necessary existence, i.e., whose existence is necessary. So our Aqidah is that God's existence is necessary. So if you turn this around, His non-existence will be impossible. That's another Aqidah. So His non-existence is impossible. Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's existence necessary? I mentioned it earlier on.
If we are here as a
Yes.
creation, then we need to come from somewhere.
So in terms of the logical dalil for it is us. It's us. Let's look at ourselves. We're here. And we look at this organization of this universe. How everything seems to be running smoothly. Yes? And there's so many planets, they're like marbles. Yes? And they seem to be swimming perfectly. Yeah, when we throw marbles onto the ground, they just go everywhere. Yes? Some collide with each other, and so on and so forth. So we understand from this is that this nizam, this organization, has to be controlled by someone. Has to be controlled by someone. And here you can, that's the waqia of Imam Abu Hanifa, where an atheist came to Imam Abu Hanifa and saying there's no God and such and such. And then Imam Abu Hanifa said to this man that, is it possible for the ship to sail itself? So it lifts its anchor itself, goes out, catches the fish, brings the fish back, anchors itself. Yes. He said no. Then Imam Abu Hanifa simply just said to him, then how is it possible for all of this universe to be running smoothly without anybody controlling it? If something as small as a ship can't just go out and do its thing, yes, then all of this universe, including the planets, the stars and everything, which is running smoothly, then how can we expect for it not to be controlled by someone? Yes, so at least it creates that a being exists. Go ahead.
In the modern day scenario, they'd say that was in that time and they didn't have science and education or not. In this scenario, what would you give to an atheist?
In terms of?
we know from science that everything comes from evolution and everything's running smoothly because of random acts.
This is, in terms of your modern era, right? This is the effect of watching too much TV. And when you watch the news, the scientists have said, you have to understand that in the mainstream media, you're always going to get one single agenda being pushed, okay? But if you look down into academic level, you'll find many scientists, right? And I would even go as far as saying that there are a majority of scientists, okay, who are against the evolution theory. Yes, all it is just that it's mainstream, and is being pushed by the mainstream agenda.
If I can just add to that, if you look at the human body and how it functions on a cellular level, and even our DNA, if you look at anything, things have to be in a certain order, and if they're not in that order, our existence wouldn't be possible. Now, if you get, it's a very simple thing you can look at, if you get 10 snooker balls, or you get 10 balls and number them 1 to 10 and put them in a bag, and put your hand in and say, just want to pull them balls up in the order of 1 to 10, 1, 2, 3, the 10, what's the probability of that happening? 1 in 26 million. So that's just 10. Now, we're made out of billions and trillions of cells that make a cell themselves, millions of them that make an organ, them organs that make an organism. So if you just go on logic and probability, the probability of the evolution is virtually impossible. You can just do that.
You come back to the same point, and that is the nizam, organization. You said that everything has to be in its perfect order. Yes, that's the nizam we're talking about. That's the organization we're talking about. Yes, we're not just talking about how this classroom set out. Yes, and that's the strength of God. It is part of the strength of God, but we're looking at it down to the smallest molecule, the smallest atom, even the organization in that, protons and neutrons. Yes, you look into that. But in terms of what you're saying in an atheist, is first off, if you look at what he bases his arguments on, if he's basing on evolution, then flow evolution. Yes, and use, rather than using Islam, use their own academics against them. Yes, but the perfect thing for us in terms of saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wajibul wujud is the nizam, that this nizam see there's somebody who has to control it, so he exists. So his existence is necessary. Necessary in the sense that if this nizam was to exist, it only can exist because of him. Yes, so because we are here, then he has to exist. Yes, so that in terms of his existence being necessary, look at it this way, that even though our parents are possible, aren't they? The humans, they're possible. God didn't have to create them, did he? Yes, but for you to exist, your parents had to exist. Yes, for you to exist, your parents had to exist. So in one way, your parents' existence is also necessary, but not intrinsically. When we say for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, intrinsically, the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for that to exist, the attributes as well and his actions, they are all necessary. Okay? But look at this as well, that if you open a can of worms, pre-continuation is flawed. Pre-continue, we call it tasalsul. Tasalsul, pre-continuation, and that is what this thing came from this thing, and this thing came from this thing, and you just kind of keep going, and it just goes into pre-eternity. It keeps carrying on. Yes? Well, you won't find a beginning, will you? Yes. But we know that from the first, from the thing that you've got now, the previous thing is slightly smaller. Take a cake, you cut it in half. You take the half, okay? Was the cake first bigger or smaller? Yes? It's gone smaller now, hasn't it? Yes? So look at it this way, the opposite scenario though, that for us to be, okay, when you cut something up, it gets smaller, doesn't it? So if you keep cutting yourself up, it's going to get smaller, yes? So likewise into pre-eternity, it's going to keep going smaller. So there has to be such a molecule which can't be divided. Yes? You're going to come to such a part which can't be divided. At one point I think it was called God's particle or something. Yes? Or dark matter, something like this. It can't be divided. Now the question will arise is, what created that? Because you can't divide it. shows that it's not made up of two things. Once you prove that it can't be divided, that means it's not a composition of two things, is it? Yes? So you can't divide it, it's one. Yes? So once it's one, we say, what created it? Yes? An atheist won't be able to answer that question. We'll say God created it. Okay? Shows that, again, that his existence is necessary. Okay? Slight bit of detail there. Okay? But you don't need to learn all that. Main points that I mentioned, that like wajibul wujud, just note that down. Any extra bits that we give you don't need to learn that, inshallah. Okay? If you can retain it, alhamdulillah, is good. One of the reasons why we mention these things as well is, in classes like this, is that the first time you hear them, it might baffle you. What's going on? Yes? But we might go in a gathering somewhere and a sheikh mentions it, a Maulana mentions it. Yes? And when you hear it for the second time, then there might be certain parts which click in because you've understood some parts you haven't understood. And when a third person or the teacher again mentions it on a later date, then it seems to click in place. Yes, it's sometimes just to go past these things as well. So they're in your subconscious. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is qadim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, take this note of this as well. It's something that we constantly use as well. Qadim. Anybody know what Qadim means? No? Simple meaning of Qadim is no beginning. No beginning. God has no beginning. Okay? God has no beginning. The opposite of it is, note this word down as well, is hadith. We've used this as well. Okay? Hadith. Hadith. Hadith, what will it mean? No. Do it as no beginning, the opposite of no beginning. Has beginning. Okay? So, has a beginning. Okay. God is Qadim. God is Qadim. And we are Hadith. God has no beginning and we have a beginning. Is the world Hadith? The world? Yes. Is the universe Hadith? Yes. Has no beginning. Everybody noted that? Them two? Qadim, no beginning. And Hadith is beginning. Something that has a beginning. Okay. You can go into these technical terms, I don't want to go that way. Okay. Even in the English, it can confuse you sometimes. Do we believe that the world is Hadith? It has a beginning. The world has a beginning. Prove it. Prove that the world has a beginning. I want to just mention this, that's why I went this way. Okay, I'll show you a bit of logic. Right. It is as al-alamu mutaghayyirun wa kullu mutaghayyirin hadisun. That the dalil that we say that the world has a beginning, right? I also sometimes say hadith, as in that it changes as well. It has a beginning. Remember, you can't exactly show somebody that the world is new, can you? Or has a beginning? Yes. You can't show it, can you? Yes? Can't do a diagram. So it has to be verbally done, doesn't it? It's something like I said in the introduction as well, that you verbally have to sometimes prove things as well. So let's look at it, let's prove that the world is new. The world is new, for example, we say al-alamu mutaghayyirun. This is what is called a dalil. This is a logical dalil. This is proof. That al-alamu mutaghayyirun. That our claim was that the world is with beginning, yes, it's new. The dalil is that the world changes. The world changes, doesn't it? Does the world change? Every time you make a movement, the world changed. Every time you made a movement, the world changed. The previous second is not the same as this second, is it? The space you are occupying right now, in the next second you will be occupying it. As in, you'll move slightly. So the space has changed as well, hasn't it? Yes? So it's constantly changing, isn't it? And everything that changes is new. That's the word that I'll use for beginning. Everything that is new has a beginning, doesn't it? Yes? Everything that is new has a beginning. So we'll just use the as hadith as new, we'll translate as new. So look at it again, that the universe, the world changes, and everything that changes is new. In logic, what we do is simple logic. What's repeated? Mutaghayyir, isn't it? This and this, just drop it. Just get rid of it. What's left? Al-alamu hadis. Al-alamu hadis. Yes? Is that right? That's our claim, wasn't it? That's our proof. Nobody can argue against it. We know that the world changes. Everything that changes is new. So the world is new. The world has a beginning. That's basic logic. That is basic logic. Where one leads to the other, and then it leads to your conclusion. Yes? We call it shakl awwal in mantiq. The opposite of hadith was qadim. Yes, sometimes we'll translate as old, but old in the meaning of no beginning. So God is qadim, that He has no beginning. There is no beginning for Him whatsoever. Because if we say there is a beginning for Him, then what will happen?
There must be an end.
Look at in this sense. He changes then, doesn't it? God is free of changes. God cannot change. God cannot change. So God cannot change. Because if He changes, that's a sign of a beginning, isn't it? Yes? That's a sign of a beginning. So God cannot change, neither in His essence can He change, neither in His attributes can He change, and neither in His actions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot change. There will be a question on this, and we'll answer that later on, but I'll put the question to you so you can think about it. And that is, look, God is Khaliq, isn't He? So we said God doesn't change. God is Khaliq. Yes? We started it, didn't we? Yes? When He decided, and whenever He decided to create the creation, that's when He came into existence, didn't it? That's when He came into. The world hasn't always been here, has it? Yes? So when He decided to create us, that's when we came into creation. That's when the universe was created. So this attribute of creator, He could have only been known by when He created. So He changed. This is an objection. This is an objection that He created. That's when He became the creator. Yeah? So what was He before that? Go for it. Good. Power to create, yes. He had the power to create. So with that, He was always the creator. We look about, on a later date, we look at in detail as well. It'll come in the book somewhere. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is qadim. In all of these, in His essence He's qadim, in His attributes He's qadim. Yes? All of His attributes, they're all qadim. Every single one of them. In terms of His actions as well, the actions are really attributes as well. In all of them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is qadim, has no beginning. When we say qadim, it is no beginning. A similar word that coincides with qadim is azali. Azali. We use that word in Urdu as well, don't we? So with Qadim we have Azali. Same meaning as Qadim. Yeah? Pre-eternal, if you like, no beginning. The opposite of this is Baqi. Opposite of it is Baqi. I.e. God has no end. Baqi means God has no end. And we sometimes know this as Abadi as well. Okay. So with Azali there, you have Baqi. So, and what goes with it is Abadi. Okay? Abadi. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is worthy of worship. Worthy of worship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhan nasu budu rabbakum alladhi khalaqakum. Khalaqakum. That, O people, worship your Lord who created you. Yes, who created you. In this ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you look deeper into it, He's commanded us to worship Him, but He's added an attribute of Rabbakum, and then straight after it, your Lord, and then He said, Alladhi khalaqakum, the one who created you. It's actually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala indicating towards us, for us to recognize that He's our creator, look at towards how you were created. Yes? And this is where you come back in again as well, and that is that everything is running in a perfect order. Yes? Everything is running in a perfect order. Everything has to be done by principles. You have the laws of physics. Yes? And they have been set, meaning even modern science can prove that there's a routine to things. There is a routine to things. Everything is running from A to Z. Yes? In a perfect order. Nothing ever seems to mess up. I think what goes up comes down, and it always happens. Yes, you want to call that?
But do we not believe in like bad luck or things just happening randomly?
We, as Muslims, we don't believe that anything happens randomly, because it's God's plan. We believe that our fate rather, is decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, everything is in the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what you're going to learn. It's going to come later on. Yes. That everything is decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For you to be sat here, it was willed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot do anything without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's strength.
And everything that's done is that, do we believe that's good for us?
Everything that is done is good for us, regardless of if we realize is wisdom or not. Yes? But in the apparent sense, we'll call something bad. This wasn't good for that it happened. Yes, it's a very bad thing that happened to you. You had an accident that's very bad. Yes, regardless of the wisdom behind it, if you don't understand it, in terms of on a worldly level, we can still call it bad. Yes, hence in some of your imaniyat we say wa khayrihi wa sharrihi min Allah ta'ala. Yes, all goodness and all bad is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're going to talk on that later on as well. Okay? Meaning, what we're doing in these 35 weeks is regarding every aspect of Aqidah. Yes? Whatever's going to come in your head, inshallah ta'ala, you're going to do it as well, inshallah. So the point that was that we believe in bad luck and things like this, that is just a coincidence that it happened, randomly happened. We don't believe that anything happens randomly. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed it, and sometimes you need to just look towards our wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, Especially when somebody passes away or something happens and you think, why did it happen to me? Everybody gets that. It happens. Yes, that shows you're human. Okay, you have emotions, but then sometimes you don't want to lower yourself into that depression mode where a person keeps falling, and then gets to a pit which he can't get out of. And the best weapon for that is dua, isn't it? That, and it happens generally when somebody passes away, and then the sons and daughters tend to just plunge straight into this pit. But the reason they've let themselves fall is because they didn't trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they thought it just happened randomly. Yes? No, it didn't happen randomly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed the death of so-and-so person that was related to you, close to you. Yes? And that was His mercy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took that person away before the world got any worse. It's the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want to look at that, there could be 1,001 wisdoms behind which you could probably think better of why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had taken that person from the face of this dunya. Yes? So there's always a wisdom behind it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one worthy of worship. So the dalil for that is ourselves, the nizam. Yes, we look at the way we are created, and then everything is running in perfect order. Running in perfect order. You can go to many different sciences, binary code if you like, zeros and ones. Yes, they have to be in like a perfect order, don't they, for whatever thing that you're making in computer science or whatever. Yes, your maths, come to maths, that has to be perfect. And people who love their maths and love numerology, then you'll see that they realize that even in terms of numbers, everything seems to be running in a perfect order. Okay. All in all, this organization lets us know that something or someone created us. Something or someone created us. And for us, that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes? That makes Him our Lord. We'll do one last Aqidah, and this is Aqidah 2, by the way. That was all Aqidah 1. Aqidah 2 is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of a single thing. Not in need of a single thing. The whole world is in need of Him. He is not in need of the whole world. Yes? I.e., we are in need of Him. He doesn't need us. Like we say, Allahu Samad. He's Ghani, isn't He? He's independent. But if you look at it logically, if God was in need of us, would He be God? He wouldn't be God, would He? He'll be shown to be weak, then wouldn't He? Once He's been shown to be weak, then our concept of God is no longer found in this individual, then He can't be God. Can't be God. So that's that. So God is independent. With this you realize that you are in need of God. Regardless of what you do, you are in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Regardless, you do dua to Him or don't do dua to Him, you're in need of Him. Just in terms of your breath. There are things inside your body which you don't even feel, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows about them. Yes? If I ask you, what is such and such molecule doing inside your body right now? Do you know what's going on? No. He does. He knows what's going on. Yes? And now because He knows what's going on, that's what's keeping you living. So you're not living because of yourself. You're not living because of yourself. You're living because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's not to say that you don't do the asbab. Yes, you have to do the means to live. Yes, you don't eat all the burgers and then not go to the gym. You have to do that to keep fit and healthy. Yes, I just say I don't know what my molecules are doing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking after them. Do tawakkul and sit down. Yes, have another meal. It's not that, is it? You have to fulfill the asbab as well. You know the means? Yes. You can't just say, Allahu Hafiz. Yes, Allah is my protector. Allah is the protector. And then say, drive at 100 miles per hour. Yes? And don't wear your seatbelt as well. No. You also do the asbab. This is a world of asbab. And this is another dalil as well, which shows us regarding the nizam, that there is cause and effect.
What's that word asbab mean?
A cause. Yeah. Cause. Asbab from sabab. Sabab. Sabab is a cause. Asbab is just plural of it. Okay. Causes. Every cause has a effect. Yes. Every cause has a effect. You say in this class, you learn something. So, inshallah. You move the pen, what will you do? It's right. Yes. If it's got ink in it. So, that's cause and effect. You jump up, what happens? You come back down. That's the cause. Yes. There's always a cause and effect. Okay. And this realm is of causes. This realm is of causes. So you have to you can translate cause as means as well. So those means, we have to take care of them, which shows that we are really in need. We are in need of those asbab. We are in need of those asbab. If you want to save your life in a car, then wear your seatbelt. Yes? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought in whoever's mind, Mr. Seatbelt's mind, that he should create a seatbelt. Okay? And now that's why you have a seatbelt, don't you? So for your safety, if you ever have an accident, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed one man, whenever he was, to create a seatbelt. Yes? But for what? For whose safety? For your safety, maybe 1,000 years later. Yes? That's a cause, isn't it? And if you don't wear it, then that's wrong, isn't it? So you have to make the causes. Yes? You can't just say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows me better than me. Yes? I'm just going to sit here and hope my food comes from the heavens. That's what Bani Israel did. We don't want to do that. So everything regarding this shows that we are in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The nizam that we have, the organization that we have in this world, shows us that we are in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes? Everything we have today, the tools that you have today are all because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed somebody to have them, so that He created it, so that you may write with that pen today, you may write on paper today. Yes? All for you. That's a sign that you are in need of Him. Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hadn't inspired this man to make paper, to make ink, and so on and so forth, then these things would have not been with you, and you would have struggled. Just little signs that you can get. We can go into major signs as well, as in big things. But these are things that you have in daily life that you can understand that, you know what, I'm in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes? And He's in need of nothing. And the reason He's not in need of anything is because if He is, then He cannot be God. Then He's no different to you, then is He? Yes? So that is Aqidah number 2. Any questions on this, on the Aqidah? Is it hard? No, is it easy? Yeah, it'll get easy inshallah. Okay.
Can I just ask, like, this is obviously complex stuff, but in terms of explaining God to children, how do you do that?
We have nasheeds. I don't know if you sang them while you were in school. Allah is one, He is the only one. Yeah? That's the perfect way. And we have many poems within the Arabic language, and there's many in English, there's many in Urdu as well. Yes, that's the best way.
Because sometimes I'll be like, I'm scared at night, I'll be like, oh God, Allah's with you, He's
Yes.
protecting you. And she's like, well, where is He then? Why will you come now?
They say God is always with you.
Yeah.
Yes, you just have to find your way around it. Yeah, and the truth is there is no correct answer. You know, when it comes to children, there is no correct answer because they'll say, where is He? How is He? Yes, and the truth is you just have to find your way around it. Yes, just say God is your protector. Do you see the angels? No, you don't see the angels, but they're there. They protect you. The truth is there's no right or wrong answer. Yes, so whatever you tell them is good for them. Yeah, God is always with you. That's a good answer. Yes, God is closer to you than your jugular vein, isn't He? Yes. So it fits in somewhere with an ayat. Yeah. But in terms of making them know the Aqidah, then go through little songs that we have regarding Aqidah. Best way to make them learn it. Any more questions on Aqidah? Don't worry about some of the jargon. We will go into detail, but the points that I say, note this down. Know this is Aqidah number 2. Yeah? They're the things that you need to know. The extra detail is just there so that your mind slightly expands and it gets used to knowing different things as well. Yes, you do need to stretch your mind in different dimensions. Yes, don't always have a single path of thinking, and that's one of the beauties of the Dars-e-Nizami course, that other than just the 4 directions, it takes in every other direction as well. Yes, it stretches your mind in so many different ways that your mind completely opens up and you start to actually know how to use your mind as well. Okay, so don't worry about it. The Aqidah points themselves will be basic. The explanation that we're going into is just there, just for your sakes to see if you can understand it. Okay, we'll move on to fiqh.
Nizami is mainly the Asian subcontinent where
Yes.
it originated and studied. So obviously there's a syllabus for how you were taught and how you studied and how students studied. What is the teaching method in like the Arab world? How do they go about it? Or is it
It's similar books, but maybe slightly different method of doing it. Yeah, or maybe they'll have some of their own scholars' books. Yeah. There's not much difference between them, but the Dars-e-Nizami tends to just deal with classical works, yes, as well as in the Arab world. And then plus in the Arab world, you'll cut out the Arabic, and then you won't be learning Arabic. They'll be speaking Arabic, yes. So they tend to just cut out the grammar. Yeah. They will teach it, but they tend to just sometimes cut it out.
Won't the modern Arabic be different to the old Arabic?
Oh, sorry?
Won't the modern Arabic be different?
It will be. It is a lot different. A lot different. Yeah. You have 2 types. You have Ami and you have Fusha. Ami is street language. In street language, it can't be understood. As in, if you try to understand it, it's very difficult. For example, when I speak as well, we speak Fusha, eloquent Arabic, and not even a lot of Arabs understand classical Arabic, and sometimes you're baffled with them. The ulama tend to speak Fusha anyway, but the armies speak proper slang, and it's completely changed. Yes, it completely changes.
It's like Shakespeare was.
Yeah, but even like we sometimes keep our English intact a bit, the way we speak it. In like our street language, if you come to our street language, then you can say, yes, that it's changed a bit. That we have, bad means good. That can confuse somebody from Pakistan. Yes. Other than that, you have the what do you call it? Dialects. Yes, the way you speak. Sorry. Okay. That's like be different. For example, in Bradford, we don't pronounce the T's. Yes. Da. But somebody from Pakistan might struggle with that. But when it comes to the army language, it constantly changes. I'll give you an example. Go Yemen, the Qaf is said as Gaf. Yes. Come to Egypt, the Jim is pronounced as Gaf. Yes. The Jaiz is Gaiz. Jawaz is Gawaz. Yes. So it happens. Okay. You come to Morocco and then there's speaking Arabic and then in between there's French. So it happens. Anyway, we're not exactly going to start the actual Nuridah today, but there are a few terminologies that you need to know. Yeah? So know everything, more or less everything that I say today, okay, in terms of fiqh. Okay, note it down. They are first, in fiqh we have a few terminologies. Okay, we can put them down as the do's and don'ts. Do's and don'ts. We're going to do the do's first. Okay, I'm going to try to make it easy for you, but I'll just give you the common one. The one that's common. We do split them up into subcategories, but I won't do that today. The first one is fard. What's the first one? Fard. So number one is fard. These are the do's. We're doing do's first. So the first one is fard. Anybody know what is fard? That's a translation. I meant to do that. What is fard? Definition. Compulsory, when I say what is, not a translation, a definition. Yes? So, yeah, we know that fard is compulsory, is an obligation. I translate as obligation. But what is it? Ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So does that mean if the Prophet said something, wouldn't be fard upon us? Okay, let's put in is a good answer that though. It rounds off to that, but we'll just say it this way because we have to give a technical meaning to it. That which is proven through decisive evidence. That which is proven through decisive evidence. Note this down. That which is proven through decisive evidence. Decisive evidence has no doubts about it. There's no ifs, buts, or why, or how. It's straight simple. The one who denies fard, is out of the fold of Islam. So the one who denies fard is out of the fold of Islam. We really call, there's two parts to this fard really. There's fard i'tiqadi and fard amali. You don't need to note it down, but just understand it. That is proven through decisive evidence, and the person who denies it is out of the fold of Islam. We refer to it as fard i'tiqadi. I'tiqadi is to do with your belief. Take example of it, it's like salah. Yes? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made salah fard upon us, hasn't he? Yes? So for a person to say there's no such thing as salah, there's no such thing as namaz, God never ordered it, this person would be out of the fold of Islam. This person would be out of the fold of Islam. Why? Because something that is proven through decisive evidence, mutawatir, mass narration, that's the Quran. It's proven through that. So then, and he's denied that belief, hasn't he? That namaz is fard. But then there's another person who denies praying. He doesn't pray. He does not pray. But he believes what? That you should pray. Namaz is fard. Okay? That person will be out of the fold of Islam. Okay? So we're talking about fard i'tiqadi here.
When you said it's proven by decisive evidence, what exactly is proving that the action is fard?
Yeah, the action is fard. Like for example, take salah. God ordered it, aqimus salah. So for example, we said in the introduction that the whole Quran is mutawatir. So decisive evidence in Islam is like hadith mutawatir, mass narration. So the Quran is mass narrated, which makes it decisive evidence. So when you deny a mass narration, that takes towards disbelief. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, aqimus salah, establish prayer, that verse itself is decisive evidence for us, and it's clear that says establish prayer. But what do we understand from it? That namaz is fard. Forget the actions at the moment. Just that belief that namaz is fard upon us, that's the bare minimum we understand, don't we? We might differ in terms of how we pray namaz. Do you do rafa yadain? How do you fasten your hands? How do sisters pray? How do men pray? All this, we can differ on that. They're minor things. But in terms of the obligation of salah, that is something we don't have a doubt about. And the whole ummah doesn't have a doubt about it as well. Okay? So, that makes it i'tiqadi then. As in, is related to your belief. The person who denies that will be out of the fold of Islam. In terms of action, he might believe that it is fard, but he just doesn't pray. That person's a sinner then, isn't he? And a major sinner. Another thing to add to it is that if it's such a farz, which is known to every single individual, meaning every single Muslim, khas and am, meaning the layman and the ulama, every single person knows that this is something which is necessary to believe in, necessary to have in terms of your faith. Okay? Then in that regard, if a person denies that, then with ijma, with consensus, without a shadow of a doubt, that person will be out of the fold of Islam. Which, if you look at the opposite scenario, is that if it's such a thing that a person's, like the ulama might know about it, but the layman doesn't know about it, then we won't exactly just put kufr fatwa on him. Yes? This can be linked to many of your Aqidah details of, for example, because we have so many things which are common. But like take in terms of Qadim. Yes? We talked about Qadim. Now, it might not, because it's a technical thing now, isn't it? That God has no beginning. So not every Muslim in that sense might not, when he's asked the question, is God Qadim? He doesn't really understand what the meaning of Qadim is. Yes? Say, I've never heard this, I don't believe in it. Yes? So because he doesn't, even though he might have a concept that yes, God doesn't have a beginning, but he doesn't know what this word Qadim means. Yes? So then if he denies it, we won't exactly put a fatwa on him. Yeah? We'll just tell him to go to an alim and he can do it that way. Yeah? And there's technical issues. Technical issues which a person should believe in, but because they're so detailed that a layman may not know of it. A layman may not know of it. But that can differ from time to time. The intercession of the Prophet ﷺ, the punishment in the grave, they're not exactly kufr in that sense, but they can turn to misguidance. If a person doesn't believe in the punishment of the grave, then that person is misguided. But is it something, I know it might seem blatant to you, but there might be other people out there which may not know about it. That there is punishment in the grave. Yes? Because it's something you can't logically understand. So then if a person denies it, we won't exactly put a fatwa on him. I think we'll teach him. And we'll tell him that this is what the Prophet ﷺ said.
What if there are individuals that have learned and then they still say?
And then he's adopted the Aqidah, then hasn't he? Yeah? Then a fatwa will, but Mufti will have to give it. Okay, you can't give the fatwa. So that's that. To miss a fard, it makes a person a major sinner. This is in terms of amal now, isn't it? Not in terms of belief. So if you miss a fard, it makes you a major sinner. If it's done unintentionally, it doesn't matter. Yes, that's unintentional. That doesn't come under this. This is when we're talking intentionally, he misses it. And what's that say? It is haram, yes. We'll tell you that there'll be opposites as well. So we're doing the do's first. This person will be known as a fasiq. Open sinner. Fasiq is open sinner. You'll always hear this word, fasiq, fajir. Yeah? Sinful person, open sinner. So this is what? Fard. This is fard. Look at the next one before namaz enters. Okay? And that is wajib. Wajib. This is not the wajib that we did in Aqidah. Translates the same, but its definition is slightly different. Okay. Wajib is that which is slightly proven through a zanni, slightly doubtful evidence, slightly. Lower it from decisive. Remember we said farz is proven from decisive evidence, where you have no doubts about. Okay. Wajib is proven through such a source that might have a slight doubt in it. A slight doubt. Not much of a doubt, but just a slight. Yes? You might say, how can you have a doubt in it? It can come in many ways. Look, there's an ayat of the Quran, and then the meaning of that word is slightly unclear. Yes? As in, one scholar is giving it one meaning, another scholar is giving another meaning. It causes doubt, doesn't it, of what the ayat is actually stipulating then. So then what happens is that if we derive any command from that, then it becomes wajib for us, if it's on that level. Yes? Or in terms of hadith sharif, there might be a narrator, yes, he might give a sign saying that this is what the Prophet said, but I've just forgot the ending, or if he actually used this word, creates a bit of a doubt. But in terms of the narration, there's big ulama narrating this hadith, which shows that regarding what the Prophet said, there was actually no doubt in it, maybe just a slight, that's it, just because of that narrator. Yes? So because of something extra of what the actual thing is saying, the extra bit causes the doubt. A narrator causes the doubt. So then we have to lower the rank, then don't we? Once we lower the rank slightly, that becomes wajib. But to believe in it is exactly the same level as fard. Okay? Just in his level, we call it wajib. So the definition was that which is proven through slightly doubtful evidence. Slightly doubtful. Without completing this, a person will not be free of his burden. You know, the burden of responsibility that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put upon you, you won't be free of it. Okay? For example, look, if you take salah, then salah is fard, isn't it? But then there are certain wajibat within fard, in your fard salah, that you have to complete. And if you don't complete them, like reading at-tahiyat, is wajib. To abduhu wa rasuluh. If you don't read it, then your salah is still incomplete. It's complete in terms of its fard. All those obligations that were upon you, the salah is complete. But in terms of its wajibat, it is incomplete. But this fard obligation that's upon you won't be taken off your shoulders unless you fulfill the wajibat. We was talking about wajib. We said that wajib is proven through slightly doubtful evidence. Okay, it's not much, but there is a slight doubt. From fard, it's slightly lower. Yes, because if it was on the same level as fard, then it's fard, isn't it? So just slightly lower in rank in terms of what its evidence is like. How strong that evidence is slightly lower because it creates a slight bit of doubt. And we said that the person who doesn't fulfill this, then the burden of responsibility that he has on his shoulders, that will not be lifted from him. The reason it won't be lifted from him is because wajib completes the fard. Wajib completes the fard. I.e., if the wajib is not done, then the fard is incomplete. If the wajib is not done, then the fard is incomplete. Okay? That will mean that the fard can only be complete by the wajib. Just like salah, if you miss your wajib out, then the salah will not be complete. Hence why we do sajda sahwa at the end, don't we? Yes? If you know what that is. Yes? You're going to learn that as well. What sajda sahwa is. Okay? Because if you don't complete the wajib, then the fard will not be complete. When the fard is not complete, then the burden of responsibility cannot be lifted. Okay. But let me tell you something. It's only us Hanafis that have a concept of wajib. Yeah? Just to make life harder for us. as Hanafis, we're the only ones that have a concept of wajib. So for example, we go from fard to wajib, don't we? So we went fard, we defined fard. From fard we went to wajib. Now the other three fiqhs, who knows the other three fiqhs other than Hanafi? Mention them. Yep, I heard about 10 then. Four altogether. Hanafis are always at the top. You have the Shafi'is, Malikis and Hanbalis, okay? In Hanafi fiqh, we believe in wajib, meaning we have this term. In the other three fiqhs, there's no such thing. There is no such a thing. I.e., they will go from fard to sunnah. We go from fard, wajib, then sunnah. Yes? So our first one is fard. I'll stand up on that. So number one is fard. Number two will be wajib. Whereas all the other fiqhs don't have a concept of wajib. So the things that we call wajib, sometimes according to them is fard, and sometimes according to us, sometimes according to something is wajib, and according to them is fard or it's sunnah. So they don't have a concept of wajib. The truth is kind of tricky because wajib, to accept the wajib, to do the wajib in action is on the level of fard. You have to do it. But in terms of its belief, it's slightly lower in rank. As in, we won't say that the person who denies the wajib is out of the fold of Islam. Yes? Out of the fold of, we won't say that. We can't say that regarding this person. Because we've proven it from a slightly doubtful evidence in regards to fard. So we can't say that he's a non-Muslim now. But then, look at this. We just said that Imam Shafi, for example, doesn't have a concept of wajib. So, if we call something wajib and he calls it fard, that's understandable. He's put a degree higher. Yes? But what about when we call something wajib and he calls it sunnah? Yes? Then according to us, he's denied the wajib. Astaghfirullah, can't put that blame upon him. Yes? So what do we do then? He just denied the wajib. The point here is if a mujtahid, if a scholar, a mujtahid scholar, if he denies a wajib through evidence, through Quran, Hadith, and so on and so forth, through evidence, he provides evidence that such and such thing is not wajib. Yes, but it's sunnah. Then you can't call that person misguided. So the hukum upon the person who denies wajib is that he's misguided. But when he has evidence to show that it's not wajib, as in he presents an argument, then that person, we can't put any hukum on him. That's the ikhtilaf which is permissible. But for any job blog to stand up and say, I don't accept this wajib, then the hukum will come upon him. Especially when he can't provide evidence for it not being wajib. So those things that Imam Shafi says are not wajib, they say it's sunnah, then obviously he provides evidence for it, doesn't he? That type of ikhtilaf is accepted. That type of ikhtilaf, dispute, is accepted according to us. So does that make sense? Ijtihad will carry on till the day of judgment. Yes, so there are many ulama ikram who you can class as mujtahid, but again, people's own intellects, and you might mention a person and somebody else will argue against you and say he's not mujtahid. Yes?
Just to confirm, for someone to deny first, it's kufr.
Yes.
To deny wajib, it's not.
To deny wajib is not kufr. So look at it this way, the fard, to do fard is an obligation. If you leave it, is a major sin. And to deny a fard, to say that there's no such thing as namaz, this is disbelief. When it comes to wajib, it's slightly lower in rank, and slightly, you have to look at it in the opposite way, and that is that the person who denies a wajib, we can't say he's a kafir, we can't say he's a non-Muslim, rather we lower the rank and say he's misguided. But in terms of implementation, in terms of belief, we lower the rank. But in terms of implementation, is on the same level as fard. I.e., we said if a person misses a fard namaz, he's a major sinner. Yes? Same thing with this. You can note that down as well. That the person who misses a wajib intentionally is also a major sinner. A mujtahid is a scholar who has the right of looking into Quran and Hadith and deriving evidence and deriving rulings from Quran and Hadith. Yes? He is a mujtahid.
In this day and age, what would you describe or qualify as a mujtahid? Who, not with names, I mean, but to what level did they actually study or?
A long time. In this day and age, a very long time. A very, very long time. I would say, I would only accept a mujtahid over the age of 40. If there was a mujtahid in our time, then it would be, I would say, just because of it. Maybe if you're in the Arab world, then it may be slightly lower age, if that's possible. But in the West, I would say over the age of 40, just because of that we don't study Islam till we're nearly 20, 30 years old anyway. So I would say over the age of 40. Yeah? But then you have to look at it this way, that he has to be a master in nearly all of the Islamic sciences as well.
How many is all?
14 at the minimum.
14 years.
Yes, 14 at the minimum. Yes, master in them. Yes, give and take a few, which are not really necessary, but at the major ones, Quran, Hadith, fiqh, usul Hadith, all these things you need to have in them. Even though he might not be known for that, but in terms of fiqh, you have to have that mastered. But to master fiqh, you need to know the Quran. You need to know Hadith. Yes, you can't start making judgments which are already in the Quran. Yes, start doing qiyas and it's clearly written in the Quran. You don't understand what type of ijtihad he's got. Okay? Ijtihad literally just means to strive. So this scholar who's known as a mujtahid, he strives on his own accord to find the rulings for you. Okay? Majority of us just do naqal. We copy paste. Yes? We copy fatwas. You'll ask a question, our job is just to find it. Isn't it, Umar? Our job is just to find it in a book and give it that way. Okay? We don't really do ijtihad. The truth is, majority of the work is done, and I believe majority of the work is done. Yes, even though new matters might arise, but we still find certain principles, certain rulings which lead us in the right direction. Yes, and then we can give rulings from that. So the truth is not really our work. Okay? So that's wajib. To leave that we don't know, and to leave a wajib, not just to pray or do it, is a major sin, like we said. Okay. The next one is sunnah mu'akkadah. Sunnah mu'akkadah. Sunnah mu'akkadah. Emphasized sunnah. Emphasized sunnah. An emphasized sunnah is something which the Prophet ﷺ would constantly do. He would constantly do this. I would say always, if you want to translate that, the Prophet would always do it, except one or two times. Meaning, throughout the whole life of the Prophet ﷺ, he ﷺ only missed it once or twice throughout his whole life. Okay, that is known as sunnah mu'akkadah. Sunnah means sunnah, mu'akkadah means emphasized.
Is that including like times of war as well? He would only miss it a couple of times, or is that different?
When there's a need, then it's different. Yes, we're talking about intentionally.
Okay.
Yeah, intentionally. We're not just talking about when there's a need, that out of need he missed such and such thing. That's slightly different. We're saying intentionally, that the Prophet once or twice intentionally left these. Okay, once or twice only, throughout his whole life. Yes, so he shows that how much he would do it. And that was the one, and once or twice the time the Prophet ﷺ left these was only to show the permissibility of such an action. Yes, that is permissible to leave them. Yes, that is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. But then we had to look at that. Can we leave it? If somebody leaves it, then is he sinful? Is he this? Is that? The Prophet left it once or twice just to bring that ruling in that if you leave it once, then it's fine. There's nothing upon you. Okay. Then it would be wajib, then wouldn't it? We get confused. If the Prophet constantly did it, then we'd be confused. Is it wajib? Is it sunnah? We wouldn't know. So then, just to make that difference, the Prophet ﷺ intentionally left it once or twice. And so you can also translate as that sunnah muakkada is emphasized sunnah that the Prophet himself emphasized it as well. Yeah? So he might have left it once or twice, but verbally he still emphasized it. To fulfill a sunnah act is rewardable. Get lots of sawab for it. To miss it intentionally is not good. It's not good. And we have the word itab here. Itab is that you could use it as a warning. You have a warning from God. Okay, a warning. So you're not really punished by the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's a warning that if you just do it, if you missed it intentionally once, okay, then once or twice, then there is something that you have a warning. Yes, because the Prophet missed it once or twice.
Is that just in relation to sunnah muakkada?
Yeah, sunnah muakkada, nothing else. But if you make a habit out of it, of constantly missing the sunnah muakkada, then the ulama say that a person will be rightful to a punishment. Be rightful to a punishment. Okay. The azab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is sunnah muakkada.
Say for example, someone who works a 9-to-5 job and then in the winter you've got all the prayer times coming together. For Zuhr he only prays the 4 fard. Would he be considered?
If it's a habit, if there's an excuse, then it's fine. That shortage of time.
Is
Yes,
that a valid excuse?
that's a valid excuse.
So like on
Shortage.
the weekend he never misses it. When he's
Yeah,
at
that's
home,
fine.
he never misses it. But at
That's
work,
fine. If there's an excuse that he's missing it, like he needs to catch the train, then that's fine. But if there's no excuse, that's when this applies. Okay. Sorry, what's that? Yeah, if a person makes a habit out of missing sunnah muakkada, then he's rightful to a punishment, and that's the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. Some ulama here even say that he will not attain the intercession of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. Okay. The intercession of the Prophet, he will not attain that. But saying that is slightly troublesome. Okay. Saying that is slightly troublesome. It's ulama have said it, but they've always put Aqidah before it. Aqil. Aqidah spelled like this. Aqidah, when you do nulada, these words are going to pop up. Okay. In FIqh, we have little indications to let you know if something is a weak mazhab. Yes? It's not a very strong mazhab. So they'll put something like Qila, it is said. Qila means it is said. So they don't mention the scholar who said it, just to make it look more weak. If you say the great Imam such and such said this, that's like emphasizing that it's authentic. But when they put as qila, it is said, meaning some guy just said this, yes, just to show that it's not taken by the ulama kiram. So when it was mentioned regarding this, that the person will not attain the intercession of the Prophet ﷺ, some ulama put qila before it, that it was said that he will not attain the intercession of the Prophet. The reason they put qila before it is, you have to know that reason as well. Why did they put qila before it? Why didn't they accept what the scholar said? The reason they couldn't accept it is because the intercession of the Prophet is for sinners. Yes? And this guy just sinned. Yes? He sinned and then we say he doesn't get intercession. But the intercession is for sinners. This is a big circle, isn't it? Yes? So that's why, because of that big circle, is a circle, we call it dawr. Yes? One depends upon the other. To attain the intercession, you have to sin. Yes? To attain the intercession, you have to sin. Yes? And this intercession is for sinners. Yes? But here, we're getting rid of that, aren't we? So that's why we said that we can't accept that saying. The next one is sunnah ghair mu'akkada. Sunnah ghair mu'akkada. You know these terminologies? Everyone should.
Someone's asked on the group that you have to do qaza of sunnah muqaddam.
There is no qaza of sunnah mu'akkada unless it's within the time. Yeah, for example, if you miss your 4 sunnahs of Zohar, before Zohar, the 4 sunnahs, and then you pray your Zohar prayer, then you can make up your 4 sunnahs straight after it. But if the time of Zohar has finished, yeah, then you can't do anything.
You have to pray your first 2 sunnah first after the farz and then do the afterwards.
I prefer to pray the 4 sunnahs first and then the 2. Okay? It'll come in the book of Nuri Daba, it'll tell you that 2 opinions. Yes? It'll come in there. Next one is sunnah ghair mu'akkada. These are terms which every person should know, okay? That's why we're going through them. Yes? This is nothing to do with Dars Nizami. Yeah? It's not, we don't even teach them in Dars Nizami, do we? We just expect them to know it. Okay? This is Islamic studies really. This is what we teach in Islamic studies. Yes? So when a person gets to Dars Nizami, he should know these terms anyway. The definitions that I'm giving you, this are technical. We might teach that in Usul FIqh. Okay? Sunnah ghair mu'akkada. Non-emphasized sunnah. Non-emphasized sunnah. A non-emphasized sunnah is that the Sharia asks of you that if you fulfill it, you will be rewarded. Yes? And it dislikes you leaving it. The Sharia dislikes you leaving it. But its disliking isn't such that we say that if you leave it, that you will be punished for it on the Day of Judgment. We can't say that. Meaning there's no warning upon this. Do you understand that?
What would be an example of that?
4 sunnahs of Asr. 4 sunnahs of Asr. But this is in disregarding if the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala constantly did the sunnahs or not. Okay? You have to understand this point, that regardless of if the Prophet constantly prayed these sunnahs or didn't pray this sunnah or did this sunnah or didn't do these sunnahs, okay? The point we're looking at here is the Prophet regarding these sunnahs never gave a warning. Never gave a warning. With the previous sunnah, like the emphasized ones, the Prophet told you to emphasize them. Just the emphasis itself tells us that it's important. So there is rather some kind of warning there as well. But regarding these, the Prophet might have encouraged you to do them. Yes? But the encouragement is not like a warning. Okay? So regardless of the Prophet ﷺ always prayed the sunnahs or performed the sunnahs or not. Okay, they are still non-emphasized sunnahs.
So for the example, like Asr of Zuhr, did he emphasize Zuhr and not
Emphasize Zohar, but not really emphasize Asr.
There was the other hadith about the miswak, where the Prophet said, was it not too much of a burden, I would make the miswak.
Yes, but that was making in terms of wajib. You know, that emphasis is there.
Yeah.
Because on such a level, they would have become wajib. Yes? And then that's why he didn't command it. But just those words themselves are telling you, emphasizing you to do miswak. So it becomes a sunnah muqaddah. So it drop from a level of wajib to sunnah muqaddah. Okay? Yeah, it's sunnah muqaddah to brush your teeth. At the least. Okay? Miswak or toothpaste. Okay? One or the other. So to do this, sunnah ghair muqaddah is rewardable, and if you don't do it, then it's disliked. But if a habit is made of it, according to Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, Sayyidi Ala Hazrat said that a person still doesn't have a warning upon him. Yes, there's still no warning upon him, meaning he's still not sinful because of it. Still not sinful. Maulana Abdul Hayy Lakhnavi, Sunni, he slightly differed on this. Okay, do you know who that is? Abul Hasanat Lakhnavi. Yes, those two wasn't there. Yes, one was from a different sect. They were both from the same era. They were both from the same time. They were both from the same town and probably in the same street. Okay, and they were both called Abdul Hayy Lakhnavi. But one has a name of Abul Hasanat. The Abul Hasanat one is a Sunni scholar. Okay, even though certain people have hijacked his name, he's a Sunni scholar, and as Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah accept him. Even Sayyidi Ala Hazrat accepted him as a great scholar as well. Okay, even though Imam Ahmad Rida Khan did much ikhtilaf with him. You know, some of the fatwas that Abdul Hayy Lakhnavi gave, they did a lot of ikhtilaf with him, but they still respected him. Yes, meaning they wrote many refutations against him in terms of fiqh matters, but they still had great respect for him. Okay, but the truth was, Abdul Hayy Lakhnavi, ulama say, was about 50, 60 years ahead of his own time. Yes, meaning he dealt with issues that weren't even in his own time. They're coming out in our time. Okay, just like Imam Ahmad Rida Khan did as well. For example, I'll give you an example. In the time of Imam Ahmad Rida Khan, you know, when you're about to have a child and you're going for your scans, yes? In Fatawa Rizviyah, somebody asked the question, was another scholar, he asked the question in regards to that a Christian says that he will know what's inside the womb. But the Quran says only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's inside the womb. They are inventing a machine that will look inside the womb and tell you. Yes? Then Ala Hazrat answered this, very detailed fatwa, he answered it. He actually describes how the machine would be like as well. Yes? And he actually pinpoints it. Yeah, it wasn't even made in his time. Yeah? He pinpoints it. He talked about the rays of light that will more or less penetrate through the stomach and get into the womb, and he describes it all. He even talks about the black and white screen. Yes? Down to the black and white screen he talks of. Yes? Which they still use today. Yeah? So it just shows that those ulama were kind of well ahead of their own time. Okay? Like that, you have many examples in Fatawa Rizviyah. Abdul Hayy Lakhni was no different. He had many things like that.
So what was
his view was that a person who constantly misses sunnah ghair muqta becomes a minor sinner. Okay? Minor sinner. But Ala Hazrat went the other way with it.
What's the term for a minor sin and a major sin?
We call it, a major is kabira and minor is saghira.
So a fasik is an open sin. So
Yeah, a fasik can come into any one of them too.
oh, okay.
Yes. Fasik can come into any one of them too. Just as doing it openly. Okay. The next one is mustahab. 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 Mustahab is something which is liked by Sharia, something beloved to the Sharia, something which the Sharia urges you to do. Okay. So it means that if you do it, you get rewarded for it, but for leaving it, there's nothing completely. Regardless of if the Prophet ﷺ himself performed this action or not. Okay. You might say, how we brought it down to mustahab, why isn't it sunnah? Yes. The reason we put it, we sometimes call it sunnah mustahabba. Sunnah mustahabba. It is in the level of sunnah ghair muakkada. Sunnah ghair muakkada. And you'll see many examples of that in Nulida. Yes. He called many things that are sunnah, which you maybe as a child were told that is mustahab. But the truth is calling it sunnah mustahabba. Okay. And it's sometimes such a thing that the ulama have tried to bring people towards doing as well. So they create a yearning for people to do this. They don't emphasize it, but they bring this yearning. Okay. Khatam. Okay. We just had the khatam downstairs. But sometimes it can go over the top. You know, they emphasize it so much that people think it's fard. Okay, that's wrong. Yeah, it shouldn't go to that level. Yeah, it's desirable. Yes, I was looking for a word all that time in my mind. Desirable. No, the Prophet had a reason for him missing, and that was that he didn't want it to become fard upon the ummah or wajib upon the ummah. Yes, that was his reason. So intentionally you shouldn't miss them. The sunnahs are after Allah, and the way of the Prophet ﷺ. But if you do happen to miss them, yes, then it's fine. But you shouldn't make a habit out of it. No, it's not sin. So sunnah ghair muqda and mustahab desirable are more or less the same. It is with sunnah ghair muqda, we know that is proven to be an action of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. With mustahab, it doesn't have to be. Okay, even though it might come in hadith, then we look at the level of the hadith. Yes, is it on such a level? Is it on such a level of authenticity that we can say actually the Prophet did it? Yes. So if it doesn't come on that level, then we have to still drop the rank then. So we might not call it sunnah, we might call it mustahab. So that is known as sunnah mustahabba then. But it's still called mustahab.
Sunnah is doubtful, it becomes mustahab.
Yeah. If it's doubtful, if it's a sunnah of the Prophet, then it becomes mustahab. As long as it's such an action which doesn't waver from the Sharia. Okay? Examples of another example, a good example would be your nafil that you read. Yes? At Isha time, for example. Or we read at Maghrib, 2 nafil in Maghrib. They're examples of mustahab. Okay?
So is something like that agreed on in all 4 madhabs? Maghrib is 7 hard.
Yeah, it's agreed, yes. Yes, as in we, at the minimum, those two nafil come. Okay, it's something that's agreed. But we wouldn't call them that is sunnah. The Prophet never prayed them. Yes, but the ulama encourage people to do that. Okay, the next one doesn't really come under a do or a don't. Okay, it'll be right in the middle. It'll be right in the middle, and that is something that's called mubah. Mubah. We can put it as number 6, but it's just mubah. Doing it and not doing exactly the same. Okay? Like you sat on chairs. Okay? Sitting on a chair is you don't get rewarded for it, and if you don't sit on a chair, you won't be sinful for it. Yes, mubah. Right at the top here as well. So it's just merely permissible. Merely permissible. Neither the Sharia encourages you to do it. We don't find anything regarding anything against it or anything for it in Hadith Sharif. Okay, there's nothing mentioned on it. Sitting on a chair, nothing mentioned. Okay, so then we just leave it as that. Okay. So these were the do's. We'll quickly do the don'ts as well. Okay, the first one is haram. First one is haram. What I'll do is, there'll be opposites. I'll take it off. The first one is haram. Okay. Haram, prohibited. It's the opposite of farz. It's the opposite of farz. And everything we said regarding farz fits in with this as well. You know, decisive evidence and such and such. All that fits in with this haram as well. The person who intentionally does a haram, then he's doing a major sin. To stay away from haram is farz. To stay away from haram is farz. And the same thing about if a person does it, then he's an open sinner and such and such. Okay, all that will come with it. So what we wrote regarding fard fits in with haram as well. And the only thing we added is to stay away from haram is fard. Okay. Next one is makruh tahrimi. Makruh tahrimi. Makruh tahrimi. Makruh tahrimi is something that is prohibited but makruh. Okay. Seems to go against each other. Prohibitively disliked. Okay, if that's right. Yeah, unlawfully disliked. Again, same thing what we read regarding wajib. Yes, that is slightly lower than farz, isn't it? In terms of its evidence, makruh tahrimi is exactly the same. So from haram, it's slightly lower in evidence. It's the opposite of wajib. I.e., if you miss a wajib in salah, it's makruh tahrimi. It's makruh intentionally. If you miss a wajib in salah intentionally, then the action of missing is makruh tahrimi. Does that make sense? Yes? The action is makruh tahrimi. And then everything else we said regarding wajib in regards to that person is a major sinner, a sinful person. Yes, to come under this, and you know all that thing regarding that person is not out of the fold of Islam if he denies it and such, all links in with this as well. It's just the total opposite of wajib, isn't it? So all that will carry on with it. Then you have the next one which you won't find in any book. Okay, You won't find it in any book. The opposite of sunnah mu'akkada, what is it? No. Okay, that's why I said you won't find it in any book. This pen's going. Do you have another pen? We call it isa'at or isa'a. In Urdu is isa'at, and in Arabic we say isa'a. Isa'a just means something that's really bad. Yes? Qad asa'a. We say he did bad, very bad. So this is the rightful opposite of sunnah mu'akkada, rightful opposite. Okay. So the total opposite, and that is that the person who falls under isa'a, then he has a warning upon him. And if he does it, misses it once, or he falls under isa'a once or twice, that's a warning. And if he constantly misses sunnah ghair muqda and falls into isa'a, then he is liable to a punishment, like what we said for sunnah mu'akkada. So it's the opposite of sunnah mu'akkada. This is the rightful opposite of sunnah mu'akkada. Lot of fuqaha was slightly confused on this. This term was brought up by, for my knowledge, was brought up by Imam Ahmad Rada Khan. Okay. Before this term didn't exist. It was there, but nobody saw it. Yes, it was there, but nobody saw it. So there was like people saying, or fuqaha saying that this is very bad. If you do such and such thing, it's very bad. But they didn't class it as makruh tahrimi or makruh tanzih, just said it's very bad. Yes, and there's a sin on it. But nobody actually came up with the term as isa'a. Nur Nida has quite a fair few places where he says this. So Imam Ahmad Rada Khan then coined up this term isa'a. Yes? Because people were making makruh tanzihi the opposite of sunnah muqaddah. But in makruh tanzihi, according to Imam Ahmad Rada Khan, it won't be a sin, will it? Why? Because it will be the opposite of sunnah ghair muqaddah, wouldn't it? The opposite of sunnah ghair muqaddah will be makruh tanzihi. Missing sunnah ghair muqaddah is not a sin. Yes? So missing sunnah ghair muqaddah makes you fall into makruh tanzihi. So makruh tanzihi, according to Imam Ahmad Rada Khan, is not a sin. Hence his smoking fatwa. When Abdul Hayy Lakhnavi gave the smoking fatwa and he said that it could be makruh tanzihi, Allah Hazrat said to us, if it is makruh tanzihi, then what's wrong with it? I mean, it's not a sin. Yes? He did that in his fatwa like that. So do you understand that? The trouble? So then he came up with this coin that this word isa'a, the makruh tanzihi doesn't carry a sin, but the opposite of sunnah muqaddah has to carry a sin. Yes? So the true rightful opposite cannot be makruh tanzihi, it has to be something else. So he came up with this word, which is isa'a. Okay? They don't normally teach you this.
So you said Imam Ahmad Rada Khan came up with that term.
Yes.
What would the Arabs or the Arab scholars term this, or would they just...
The truth was they didn't bother with putting it into opposites.
Okay.
Yes? The truth is Imam Ahmad Rada started looking at opposites. And if you do this, then what's the opposite of it? Yes? In terms of the darsiyat, they didn't look at it in that way. Yes? As what the opposite was. They just defined it.
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah.
This is fard, this is sunnah, this is this. Yes? So they looked at it that way. But they didn't look at it as in, what's the opposite of fard? Yes? If you miss a fard, what do you fall into? They didn't look at it that way. So when the ulama looked at it this way, that's when the problem arises, didn't it? And that's when he came up with this term isa'a. Okay? So we've done isa'a then, haven't we? The next one is makruh tanzihi. Makruh tanzihi. Makruh tanzihi. So the opposite of sunnah ghair mu'akkadah. So to fall into a makruh tanzihi is something which the Sharia doesn't like. It's disliked by the Sharia. But not to such an extent that a warning has come upon it. Yes? And this is the opposite of sunnah ghair muqtada. So you understand where he came from when he mentioned smoking? Yes? And he went to the dalail of calling him makruh, tanzihi, and refuting him. But you should understand as well that a lot of people, a lot of ulama in this day and age say smoking is haram. Yes? A lot of ulama say smoking is haram. I believe Shaykh Muhammad has full fatwa on it. Yes? Full fatwa that smoking, cigarettes that is haram. Yeah, the past scholars, many of them, including Imam Ahmad Rida Khan, they said that it's permissible. Yes, and just as a refutation, another scholar, Abdul Hayy Lakhnavi, he said that even if it is makruh tanzihi, there's no sin upon it. Is there? So it's just in terms of refutation, he did that. We can say that the ulama of the past didn't know the harms of smoking, so we give them excuse because they didn't really know much about it. Yes, it was just seen as a pastime. Yes, but recently we know the harms of smoking. So regardless of the category, if it's haram, makruh, whatever, we know it's bad for our health. Yes, so from there we say that at least we should stay away from it. I personally believe it's haram. Okay. So sunnah ghair muqtada is opposite. Next one is khilaf awla. Khilaf awla. Make sure you put a zabar on this alif. Okay? So you don't get confused later on. Because a lot of people get this confused. Khilaf awla. Yeah? Not khilaf ula. Khilaf awla. Ula means first, awla means better, best. Yes? It should really translate as opposite of the better scenario. Opposite of the better scenario. That's the literal translation of it. Its opposite was mustahab, wasn't it? Yes? Its opposite was mustahab. To do mustahab is rewardable, isn't it? Yes? And if you miss mustahab, then there's nothing upon you. There's no sin, nothing. Yes? By not fulfilling a mustahab, you fall into khilaf awla. The awla, the better scenario was to do the mustahab. But if you missed it, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. That's just khilaf awla. Meaning there's nothing wrong with falling into khilaf awla. But the opposite scenario of khilaf awla was better. Like your two nafils of Maghrib or Isha. Okay? If you pray them, then it's mustahab. If you miss them, then you fall under khilaf awla, which just means that you lost out on a reward. You could have got some good deeds in your bank account and you just lost out on them. Okay.
For makruh tanzihi, would you say that's lawfully disliked, the
As
term?
a definition, if you want to do it, you can say major dislike and minor dislike. Okay, do it that way. It's easier to remember. Yeah. Truth is, they're both lawful. Yes, lawfully disliked. But first one you can do as major, and this one you can do as minor. These are the definitions which I want you to remember. Yeah. Definitions we went into detail, but the terms themselves, get used to them. Yes. I say fard, you should know what fard is. Yes. So it means that I don't have to translate every time I say it. So fard, obligation, wajib, necessary. Just get used to them. Yes. So when I say this is fard, you should know what fard is. I say wajib, you know what wajib is. Yes. So it makes life easy for me and life easier for you. Because sometimes we have words upon our tongues that I'll forget to translate. Yes, because we commonly use them. Like for example, Qadim came, that is a word which I know you won't know. Yes, so I'll translate it every time I say it. But if I say fard, it's something I use commonly and I expect everybody to use it commonly as well. So I expect you to know it. The opposites, you can make a chart. Yes, just do a do's and the don'ts, and you'll have farz, haram, then you have wajib, makruh tahrimi, then you'll have sunnah muqda, isa'a, sunnah ghair muqda, makruh tanzihi, mustahab, khilaf awla, and remember that word mubah we wrote. That mubah comes right in the middle. Yes, I would have wrote on the board, but the board's small. Okay, just put a line in between. Okay, 5 on one side, 5 on the other side in the same order, and in the middle you write mubah. Yes, because mubah neither comes under the do's nor the don'ts. Okay, that those are the terminal. One more thing. Okay, and I've intentionally gone over the time for the next lesson, which I want you to do is to know our imams first. The Hanafi imams. Who knows how many Hanafi imams we have? I mentioned them last time. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? 3. Okay. Our main founders of the Hanafi fiqh are how many? 3. Note their names down. And note them in this order as well. Try to write them in a list. Okay, if you would. The first one is Imam Abu Hanifa. Has everybody got this, yeah? And what's on the board? Can I take it off? Abu Hanifa. I'm just writing a shorthand. Imam Muhammad. And then you got Abu Yusuf. You can put Imam before them. You don't have to write them in Arabic, but if you want, you can. So you got Imam Abu Hanifa, you have Imam Muhammad, and you have Imam Abu Yusuf. Sorry, don't write in that way, opposite way around. Sorry, I just realized. Imam Muhammad. So you got Imam Abu Hanifa, you got Imam Abu Yusuf, and then Imam Muhammad. Imam Abu Hanifa, as you all know, was actually the founder of the school. Yes? He was a teacher of both Imam Abu Yusuf and Imam Muhammad. Both of them were his students. They were students in principles. Yes? So that means that they followed his principles, but they didn't follow his fatwas. Yes, I mean, if Imam Abu Hanifa said something was fard, the Sahiban didn't have to follow it to be fard. Okay, if Imam Abu Hanifa said something is wajib, they didn't have to necessarily follow that it's wajib. They would still use the principles of Imam Abu Hanifa, maybe to arrive at a different conclusion. Okay, it's something to understand. So Imam Abu Yusuf and Imam Muhammad are both students of Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam Muhammad is a student of both Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Abu Yusuf. Okay. Imam Muhammad is also the teacher of Imam Shafi. Okay. Imam Muhammad is also the teacher of Imam Shafi. Whenever Imam Muhammad used to be in town and the time came for him to leave, Imam Shafi would walk him out of the city. Yes. All the way on by foot for miles upon miles, yes, just to see his teacher off. Imam Muhammad is a student of Imam Malik. Okay, Imam Muhammad is a student of Imam Malik as well. Imam Abu Yusuf was a qazi. He was a judge. He became a judge in the later part of his life, and this is why some people say that the reason there's many Hanafis is because of him. Yes, while he was a judge, he made all the kings and queens Hanafis. Yes, he carried on from there. The truth is, the Hanafi school is not just for just alone for normal people. It's there to run a whole state. Yes, like you have the UK and it has its law. Yes, and We have law regarding every single thing. The Hanafi school is built in such a way that we have a law regarding everything, whereas other schools might not have that. Yes? The terms I want to tell you is that when Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Abu Yusuf agree on something, when these two agree on a specific issue, yes, we tend to call them the Shaykhain. Shaykhain. So they're known as the Shaykhain. Shaykhain. The two sheikhs. Why did the two sheikhs? Why do we call them the two sheikhs?
Because they're the leaders.
They're the teachers of Imam Muhammad, aren't they? Yes, so we know them as the Shaykhain. So for example, I say, this is the mazhab of the Shaykhain. Who will that refer to? Yes, both of them. If Imam Abu Yusuf and Imam Muhammad agree on an issue, yes, we call them the Sahibain. We call them the Sahibain. Okay? The two companions. Sahibain, two companions. Why two companions?
Because they were both students.
They're both students of Imam Abu Hanifa. So we'll say, and we'll say this a lot of the times, this is the view of the Sahibain. This is the view of the Sahibain. To do Takbir al-Tashriq for 5 days, from the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, 5 days onwards, till the 13th. Yes? This is the madhab of the Sahibain. Yes? So what would that mean? That this is the view of Imam Abu Yusuf and Imam Muhammad, and Imam Abu Hanifa disagreed. What was his madhab in terms of the Takbir al-Tashriq? Yes, after namaz, you say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, all the takbir, was from the 9th of Dhul Hijjah's Fajr till the day of Eid's Asr. Yeah? Meaning just more or less 24 hours, isn't it? Yes? So like that we'll say. If Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Muhammad come together upon an issue, yes? We know them as the Tarafain. Tarafain. Just close the door. The Tarafain. Okay, so if Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Muhammad agree on something, they are known as the Tarfain or Tarafain. Okay. What does Tarf mean? Ik taraf. One side, there you go. On the list, they're on the sides, aren't they? Yes? On the list, Abu Hanifa, Abu Yusuf, Imam Muhammad, top and bottom, isn't it? The two sides, they're on the sides. Okay? So we just know them as the Tarafain. So you might say this is the madhab of the Tarafain. It means that Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Muhammad agreed upon it. Another easy way to remember it is by saying that this is the madhab of the Shaykhain. I know who disagreed. So if I say this is the madhab of the Shaykhain, who disagreed? Imam Muhammad. That's the easy way. You know the other two then, won't you? If this is the madhab of the Sahibain, who disagreed? Imam Abu Hanifa. So you know who agreed. And if you say this is the madhab of the Tarfain, then who disagreed? Imam Abu Yusuf. Okay. So these are our terminologies. Because we have three Imams, it makes life very hard for us in terms of fiqh. The Hanafi fiqh is the hardest fiqh which you'll ever study. Okay? Just because we have three Imams like this. Okay? Every other fiqh started off with one Imam, and then gradually they had a lot of Imams after that, but they tend to follow their own Imam and his principles, his fatwas. But when it came to our Imams, we follow all three of them. Yes, and then we have to mix and match. Okay, so this is what I want you to do today. Any questions on what we've done so far? No questions? You have two types of sunnahs, sunan huda and sunan zawaid. Sunan huda, I tend to term them as that they are things which cover the ibadat, yes, regarding worship. So some ulama tend to put sunan muqda and sunan ghair muqda under sunan huda. Okay, I think it's guidance from the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. Then you have sunan zawaid. Sunan zawaid are like extra sunnahs, but they might have been the norm of the time. Yes, like the dress of the Prophet. Yes, that is sunan zawaid, that it might come under that. So something that might have been the norm of the time, but because our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it, we still call it sunnah, but it was something just norm of the time that even the kuffar maybe had carried on doing stuff like that as well. Okay, so they are known as sunan zawaid. Sunan zawaid are not like any sunnahs which if you miss out you're going to be sinful for. Okay, and nor are they necessary to be an act of worship. Yes, they can be an act of worship if you put your intention in it, that I'm going to do this sunnah because my Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did this sunnah. Then you come. There's a nice little debate, isn't there, regarding the Imamah Sharif. Does it come under Sunan Huda or does it come under Sunan Zawaid? Okay, some ulama say it comes under Sunan Huda. There is some say Sunnah Muqda, some say Sunnah Ghair Muqda, some say Sunnah Zawaid. Some ulama say that Sunan Zawaid are all of the Sunan Zawaid are Sunnah Ghair Muqda, because it just follows the definition, wouldn't it? Yeah. The Prophet did it, but he never emphasized it, and nor are you sinful for not doing it. Yes, so some people categorize it in this manner as well. Yes, it's in that way. Okay. Any more questions? No? Sisters? Okay. This is like our full introduction now done. Yes. Now we're gonna go into the actual book. That'll be from next week, inshallah ta'ala, regarding Nulida. In regards to the Aqidah, we started the Aqidah. We did the first two Aqidah points, and from next week for Nulida we'll start into Nulida. We'll start from Kitab al-Tahara, the book of cleanliness, and we will do it from there, inshallah ta'ala. We'll go on to our next lesson, but we're only going to spend about 5 minutes on it. And that is your Arabic. Okay, your Arabic. Arabic is Arabic. Who knows Arabic? We're not doing actually spoken Arabic, but it's just to give you a taste of Arabic grammar. And the specific part that we are concerned with is sarf. Okay, sarf. Some ulama call it tasrif as well, same meaning. Sarf literally means to turn. Means to turn. Yes, you go to Makkah, Arab countries, and you look for the masraf, don't you? The currency exchange. Yeah, where you turn the money around, you change the currency of it. It means to turn. Why is this sarf called sarf? Yes, the reason is we turn around words to make new words. That's why it's called sarf. So we're constantly turning words to make more words. That's sarf. The definition of this science, okay, is that sarf is there to know the scale of words, to know the scale of Arabic words, not English ones. Okay, to know the scale of Arabic words, so that you can protect yourself from mistakes. Can protect yourself from mistakes. When I mean scales, in Arabic we have scales, not weighing scales, okay? Scales as in, where the zabar goes, where the zair goes, where the pesh goes. Yes, they have particular patterns. Yes? So once you know them, then you won't make a mistake in it. You won't make a mistake in it. Meaning if it's yas judu, then you don't read it as yas jidu. You know that the scale comes with a pesh, so I don't read anything else but that. This is what sarf will teach you. So it teaches you the scales. But what it does is it takes the word and then we can derive more words from that. Okay. In regards to the founder of this science, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates everything. Okay. But sometimes grammar, even though it's been amongst the Arabs, okay, but in terms of who noted it down and who started it off for that it should be taught and so on and so forth, is related to Sayyidina Ali. Yes, especially Nahv. There's two parts to Arabic grammar. One is called Sarf and one is called Nahv. Yes, Sarf is concerned with the scales of words. Yes, and Nahv is more concerned with reading. Okay, but to be particular, is concerned with just the last letter. So in Sarf, for example, in Sarf, if I write Yasjudu, write another word actually, Yadribu. Okay, Sarf will be like, what is this scale? Yes, how is it made? Yes, where does it come from? Okay, we'll talk about that in Sarf. And how can we make the words from it? Yeah, so it'll be Yadribu, then Yadribani, Yadribuna, Tadribu, Tadribani, and we can make lots of words like that. Okay, but the Sarf is telling us that a Fatah goes there, Zabar goes there, a Sukoon goes there, Jazm, a Kasra goes here, a Zair, and a Zamma, a Pesh goes there. Okay, that's Sarf. Sarf will tell us that. Nahv, which is the second part of Arabic grammar, which you won't be studying. Okay, we'll try to give you hints to it, but you won't be studying it. It's too lengthy. Is only concerned with this letter, the last letter. Okay, so Sarf tells you the rest of it. Nahv tells you what's on the last letter. Yes, because it changes. Yes, it changes many times. La ilaha illallah hu. Yes, so it's Allahu. Ashhadu Allah ilaha. Okay, so you do it. Muhammadur Rasulullah. That's what I was meant to call. Muhammadur Rasulullah. Yes, so we said Muhammadun, didn't we? Ashhadu anna Muhammadan. Change now, wasn't it? Yes, so it's same name, Muhammad, but one's Muhammadun and one is Muhammadan. It's Nahv that tells you of which one goes where. Okay, that's Nahv. That's a lengthy process. We're going to be doing just the scales first. Okay, so that's the purpose of Sarf. And it's related to Sayyidina Ali. The story goes that somebody wrote a letter to Sayyidina Ali and they made a grammar mistake, and then one of his companions, he got him together and told him to start writing on it. Yes, he dictated it and he started writing. There's more to do with Nahv instead. Okay, but sometimes both of them are related to what Sayyidina Ali karamallahu wajhul kareem. Then the rest of the 10 principles, right? You can go into them. They're not very important for us to go into regarding Sarf. Okay, but the main purpose of it is to protect yourself from verbal mistakes. So when you do learn Arabic and speak Arabic, then you'll know how to speak. Yes, but warning is, if you do learn how to speak Arabic and you start speaking Fusha Arabic, the way what we're going to teach you, the Arabs won't understand what you're saying as well. Okay, so be careful of that. So if you do start speaking Arabic, okay, as a miracle from this class, then you'll see that even the Arabs might not understand what you're saying. Okay, the subject are words, then, aren't they? That's quite apparent, isn't it? Yes, if you're going to be talking regarding scales, then those scales are our words. Yes, so our subject are words. Okay, one thing I want you to note down is what I said before when I did that, was what I named the Zabar Zair Pesh. Okay, Fatah, Dhamma, Kasra. I might say Zamma sometimes, okay? It's just the way we sometimes say it. We Pakistanis say it like that. Okay? It's good to be interchangeable, yes? Be different. When you're going in front of a Pakistani scholar, we say Zamma. When you come in front of Arab scholar, say Dhamma. Okay, it's good to do it. Even though the Hijazis, the Saudis, they don't say Dod, they say Za. Yeah, they say Zamma themselves as well. Okay, that's where it's really actually taken from. So if you go to Saudi, they don't say yadribu, they say yazribu. Okay, they speak like that. So look here, the pesh is called, two names for it. It's called a zamma and a rafa. Zamma and a rafa. Hopefully the books should be here on Monday, so we can give him out on next Saturday. It saves you a lot of writing. Okay, in this one you'll write a lot. The pesh, that's a pesh. Okay, so if you put a line underneath it just to make a difference, because when you do a zabara and zair, you won't know the difference. Okay, so just put a line in the middle. This is known as a dhamma, okay, or a rafa. Okay. Dhamma or a rafa. Then you got a zabar. Okay, the line used to indicate that it goes on top of a word. Okay, this is known as fatha. Fatha or a nasab. There are reasons why they name like that. Okay, if you look at dhamma, when you pronounce the pesh, your lips tend to stick together. Okay, oo, oo. Okay, lips close in. With fatha, fatha in Arabic means to open. Dhamma means to stick together. The fatha means to open. So when you read a fatha, you tend to open your mouth. Bit of tajweed for you as well. Okay, don't read. When you keep your mouth closed, then it goes in your nose. Yes. So if you say oh, yeah, it goes in your nose. Ba, ta. Okay, so that's why it's called fatha, because you have to open your mouth and read it. Okay. Rafa means to raise. So the truth is you have to raise your lips to read it. And nasab means to erect. Yes. So meaning open your mouth. You have to erect it, and even with the alif, yes, with the zabar, you stretch it high, don't you? You have to erect the alif, make the alif stand. Okay. So that's why you do it that way. The next one is a zair. We call it kasra. And a jar. Okay, jar. The reason it's called a kasra is you have to break your jaw to read it. E, B, T. Yeah. The basics of tajweed. E, B, T. Sorry, I was writing and I forgot about you lot. E, B, T. Yes, you have to break your jaw down. And it's called jar. Jar. Jar means to pull or stretch. Yes, so you're forcing your jaw to go down, aren't you? So that's why it's called jar as well, because you're pulling your jaw down to pronounce it. Okay? That's why it's called jar. Okay. Then you've got a jazm. Jazm is the Arabic word as well. Okay, lots of ways of writing in Arabic. It could just be written like that, and some people just put a circle as well. Okay, so whichever you like decide in your writing. We call it sukoon. Okay, sukoon or jazm. Okay. Sukoon means silent, doesn't it? Sukoon means silent. Is a silent letter then, isn't it? As in you don't really read it. It's without a vowel. Yeah, so you don't read it. And then you got jazm. Okay. Jazm means to be stuck. It's stuck in his own word, isn't it? You can't really do anything with it. You can't really pronounce it. So that's why it's like that.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
I'm not going to write it, but it's something for you to think about. And that is the letter that has a zamma on it, the letter that has a fatha on it, the letter that has a kasra on it, the letter that has a sukoon, okay, on it. What do we call that letter? Okay, leave the last one. Okay, the first three. The letter that has a zamma on it, we'll call it mazmoom. There's a bit of sarf for you. So you have to put into the scale of maf'ool. Maf'ool. Okay? And whenever you see a shad, yes? Zammah. There'll be two letters there. It'll be two memes. So this one, the letter, for example, if there's a waw with a pesh on it, a waw with a dhamma on it, we'll call it madmoom. Madmoom. Yes? The letter with the zamma. If you want to do the rafa one, marfu'. Marfu'. Something for you to think about. We'll do it next week again though. Fatha will be called maftuh. Maftuh. Have you seen the same scales carrying on? Yes? So the letter that has a zabur on it, we call it maftuh. So if there's ba with the fatha on it, we say this letter is maftuh. If it is nasab, then we say mansoob. Mansoob. All you're doing is putting a meme in the starting, and between the second letter and the third letter, you're putting a waw. Yes? On the scale of maf'ool. Okay? Maf'ool. Yes? So you can put mazmoom. Mar, ra comes first, then the fa, put a waw, and keep the ain. Marfu'. This is what sarf is really. Okay? To make new words. So you got kasra, maksur, kaf, sin and ra. Put them in those, the fa, ain and lam's place. Put the kaf, sin and ra. It'll make it maksur. Yes? So that will be a letter with kasra on it. So I might use these words. I said, this is maksur. It means that it's a letter with a kasra underneath it. There's a shad on there, isn't there? So there's two ras here. There are two ras there. This will be now majroor. Yes? This one's slightly different because sukoon, we call it sakin. What do we call it? Sakin. Slightly different. The letter that has a sukoon on it, we call it sakin. And then here you got majzoom. 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 Okay? On that same scale. Don't worry too much about that, okay? It'll come. Yes? We don't really go into that detail straight away anyway. You're going to go through a lot more terminologies yet. Yeah? There can be a lot of terms that you're going to go through. Yes? What is ism, what is fail, what is a harf, and certain things you need to know regarding them.
So is mansoob and maftuh the same thing?
For now they're the same thing. Yeah? There is a slight difference between them, but you understand it. Okay? But for now they're exactly the same thing. Yes? That good? I'll stop there inshallah ta'ala. Any questions? Yeah?
For the reading for next week? Are there any specific sections that we should be reading?
What you're doing is you're reading straight through it. Okay, so try to do a section at a time. So if it's a small section, try to do two or three sections. If it's a bigger section, obviously we might not be able to cover it through the whole lesson. So we're making out through. But at the end of every session, if there's a section in the next part which we're not doing, I'll let you know. So you don't have to read that then. Okay, we'll stop there inshallah.